Hello, today I'm starting a new series, Mercury conjunctions. Now, Mercury is really, really important planet in the world we're living in at the moment. However, we are actually stepping into a different period soon. So this is very much to do with now. And the more spiritual side of the world is coming in. So things will change and we will go into more of Jupiterian time. So let's talk about let's talk about Mercury. And so Mercury is the prince. We have the sun, the king, queen is obviously moon, and this is their child, which is Mercury. Mercury in the natural zodiac rules, which is from Aries, rules third house, which is Gemini, and sixth house, which is Virgo. And I'm going to go through these two houses just briefly for those of you who are new to astrology. And I know it's a little bit boring for people who know, but third house is obviously rules hands, fingers, arms, and top of your shoulders. And it's also your throat chakra. Mercury rules your throat chakra. And so sixth house is stomach, digestion, like it's not just digestion of food, but it's also digestion of information, what we watch, what we hear, all of that, and what we see. It's all digesting information. So that's literally what what it's all about. Now, Mercury itself rules speech, rules the nervous system, rules your skin, and rule also allergies. Any form of allergy is to do with Mercury. Mercury is neuter in a sense. It's neither female or male. It's just like it's basically dependent on the house that it's sitting in, the sign that it's sitting in, and the influence that it has. It changes because it's the baby of the zodiac, and it rules Upachaya houses, third and sixth house, so they get better with time. Wherever Mercury sits, because it's obviously rules adolescents and children and young people. So wherever it sits in your chart, you are not obviously with everything to do with life we have to learn, but wherever Mercury is, we have to learn even more about it, if you like. And just like children, Mercury is very flexible with information, because what happens with all of us when we are young, we are much more open to things. We have our pineal gland working. We don't really see color in people, religion. We don't think about their belief systems. We accept everyone. So in a sense, like we don't really think, oh, I don't like this music or that person or anything like that. That's not how we work as a child. We actually, our environment, our conditioning, our parents, our schools, everything sort of shapes us, if you like. So anyway, yeah. So this is like this is the reason why they say wherever Mercury sits, it can. If it's sitting with benefics, it will be benefic. It'll act like a benefic. But if it's in sitting with malefics, it'll be malefic. So, for example, Mercury sitting with Venus will be very different to Mercury sitting with Mars. For one thing, one is friendly with her, the other one is enemy with her. And also, say, for example, as a young child, if you hang around with kids who are troublemakers, you are likely to be conditioned to be like them. So it doesn't necessarily mean you are like them, but you can be conditioned to be like that. Similarly, if you are with people who are quite Jupiterian, quite forward-looking and quite, optimistic and all of that, that is how Mercury is going to function. So it's very changeable, and therefore, as you can see that whatever house we're sitting in, we're a little bit immature about we think we know it, but actually we have to learn a lot more about it too. But Mercury in today's world, it's so, so important. So I'm just going to go through some of the indications. I haven't really made many notes, so I'm just going to, hopefully everything will come to me. I'm wearing green to honor it, and I'm going to publish this on a Wednesday, which is a day that's ruled by Mercury. It rules emeralds, it rules nature, it rules anything green, plants, it rules fast food, because obviously it's a fast moving planet. So Mercury, as I said, rules third and sixth house of natural zodiac. It's friendly with the sun, very, very good friends with Venus. And it's also, although some, I would say friendly towards Saturn, although it can be a little bit like Saturn, if you're sitting with Mercury, can really just drain it. And it's also, Rahu works well in Mercury signs, although I would probably say Rahu is a trickster, can make us tell lies. So if it's with planet of speech, we're more likely to be like fibbing. I'm not saying lying, just fibbing little white lies, things like that. But obviously it's got to be quite, Mercury, it is a malefic really. So, but it's also multi-talented. There are so many things that are ruled by Mercury. It's absolutely incredible. So let's make a start. So obviously it rules third house. So communication, this is exactly what I'm doing now. So it rules all of those things, everything to do with emails, texting, messaging, all social media, all mainstream media, newspapers, journalism, broadcasting. Crikey, what is it that it doesn't do? It rules travel. It rules movement, literally, because you're born first house, Aries, second house, family. When you get in the nurture of the family, third house, you start moving. It rules kind of also third house, also friends, colleagues, siblings. So this is the very first time you start like arguing with them, right? This is my toy. How you speak, how you get brave, how you get courageous and fight your corner. You express yourself. You're hot, you're cold, you're tired, all of those things. And it's Mercury rules students, young people, rules friends, mates, pals, teamwork, rules, as I said, neighbors, rules neighborhoods, what else? Rules commerce, stock market, money, currency. And obviously dollar notes are green, so it's very, very Mercury. Rules all forms of information, data, like if you can get like if you wanted to sort of like ask your government for like freedom of information, that's it. So it's all of that data is actually Mercury. Mercury is in everything. So you buy like for example, say if you buy like a vacuum cleaner, it's instruction books is Mercury. Learning is Mercury. Courses, skills, days out, picnics, cinema, singing, dancing, music, learning music, playing music, partying, all of those things are all Mercury and all third house. Making things with your hands is your dexterity is also Mercury. Mercury rules herbs. So herbal, Ayurvedic, healing things, all sixth house. So this is again Mercury. Reiki, massage, personal training, exercise, yoga. What else? Oh my God, there's so many things that it rules. Recipes, when you're cooking, recipes. Bringing people into your groups and teams and all of those things. It's also sixth house of competition is also to do with that as well. It's basically your ability to work things out. So like, you get a puzzle in front of you as a kid and you see the space that is empty and you're trying to match the shapes of toys to that. And so ability to work that out is and that as we grow older as well. So obviously, we could have like a cryptic puzzle, crosswords, all of those are. So it's also entertainment of whatever we are interested in. So whether it's YouTube, learning, or watching Netflix, all of those things are all to do with Mercury. Mercury is the organizer, and is practical, is intellectual. It's not intelligence. Intelligence is the sun, and it's not logical. That is Mars. So your how you organize yourself. This is also very much from the very, very moment you wake up. How do you organize yourself? I have to say, last 2.5 years, I just have not been able to. It just seems to take me longer and longer and longer to get myself sorted, because there's so much information going on, and I want to be really in, because of the other jobs that I do, I need to be in the know. So it's just taking me longer and longer to get these videos done and actually fit them in, and everything has been really trying. I'm also doing mercurial things, in the sense that I'm doing gardening, growing vegetables and herbs, and making my own potions and lotions and things. So that's all Mercury. Mercury is commerce, merchandising, displays in the shops, all of those wonderful things that you see for festivities, Christmas or carnivals and things like that. They're all to do with display. So it attracts the eye because we're taking information in, that kind of thing. And obviously the worst thing of all is when we are on our mobiles. I mean, I've deleted all the big apps now. I mean, my phone is literally so old anyway, but it's got no ability to have any form of apps on there. So all of those things are obviously graphic design, marketing, things like that. They're all to do with Mercury. And obviously Mercury is quite fickle, so this is how you can get yourself into trouble, because you could be like on Facebook. Oh God, I've had to delete everything. I am not actually dealing with any big companies, although I deal with YouTube and Zoom obviously at the moment. So, but generally speaking, you get trapped into that. So they trick you into like, you're watching something, and because they're listening to your conversation, that advertising comes in. Before you know it, you bought something from Amazon, you bought something else from Amazon, that leads you to another one, and before you know it, you got all these things that you don't need. And so it's very impulsive because it is young, and also that's Rahu as well, but it is also Mercury. And partying, picnicking, organizing barbecues, days out at the beach, going to the zoo, pets, rescue animals, all of those things are to do with sixth house as well. Sixth house is also work. So how do you get yourself organized in the morning? So you get up, you exercise, eat, shower, and get yourself organized, so you leave in time to get to work in time. That's all Mercury. How you then organize yourself at work in order to meet your deadlines, that's Mercury. Working with others, trying to get on with others, create teamwork, that's also Mercury. Mercury is also practical, so it's going to be like a really strong. Mercury knows how to gain information, how to utilize information, what's good. It uses a lot of discernment, so it's quite clever, quite good in the sense, also it's green, so it's envy and jealousy is Mercury. So it could be like you. I mean, obviously I've got the green on today, so, and this is when you see that you realize that every planet has got a real negative side to it. So with Mercury, it could be very much about like noticing other, because it rules sixth house of critical, and it doesn't miss detail, is sixth house. And obviously sixth house of natural zodiac is Virgo. Is an earth sign. It's all to do with money, and it's very materialistic. So it's noticing what somebody else has and you haven't. And so it can, this is something that you've got to realize also, that particularly Mercury, when it is in earth signs, it's very materialistic. So they've got a new car, you notice that. Like your friend has got a new pair of earrings or something, you notice that. So they're very like, oh yeah, I noticed that. It's also like that if planets that are in Mercury nakshatras, which rules Ashlesha, Jyeshta, and Revati. Revati not so much, but definitely, I'm saying not so much, it doesn't mean, but Mercury nakshatras could be a little bit like that, where they're a little bit like you notice things and it's like, oh, I wish they're gone on holiday, I wish I could have done that. So just be careful, because you don't want to create like negative energy for yourself. So never send it out. When you say something to somebody, make sure it doesn't have a double meaning. So always protect your karmas. You're intelligent, you're doing astrology, so you want to just like make your own life better. But like when some people give you double-edged, like they don't really mean it, so they just give you a compliment, but it's like a backhanded one. So all of us know, we know that we don't want something like that, because they don't really mean it. So, but actually what they do, these people, they make it harder for themselves. And inevitably we all have a sixth house, and sixth house is obviously is how you see that jealousy, and it's enemies as well. But we know them because sixth house is like an open house, so we actually notice and feel the energy that is negative, whereas eighth house and 12th house are secret enemies. We don't know that, they're just like doing it's like a little bit like voodoo-ish, bad black energy. But all of that, all it does, it traps that person in that negative thing. So I think it's always good to just let it go, because we all have these earth signs in our chart. We all have Mercury nakshatras in our chart, so we can't really say that, oh, but I'm not like that. There's always going to be a situation where we can be like that. So we just have to, as spiritual souls who are awakened and want to just like have the better life, when you see that and you feel really bad, just like you send those bad energies away and just protect yourself, and just send love to other people, because you don't really know what they're going through. They could all be smiley, and that's not really necessarily how their life is. So what else? Okay, so I said, obviously Mercury rules, it's like Jupiter, it's really good for first house. So gets directional strength in the first house of the chart. So if it's in the ascendant, whether it's in D1 or any other of your subcharts, then that subchart you have massive focus on. Also works really well in the eighth house. That is one house that I can truly say the only planet that works really well in the eighth house is Mercury. So if you have it in your chart already, or one of your subcharts, or you're going to go through a planetary period, but Mercury is in your eighth house. I'm going through that right now. I'm loving it. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, brilliant. And actually, if Mercury is also in, so despite all the difficulties that I've been through, I am just making the most of this sub period, because sub period of Mercury for me has just literally, that's what it's done. It's brought in the astrology that I've been studying for years. It's just made me want to share that with others. It's like a free gift to the world, write off some of my karma, even though I seem to be so ill. So I don't know, maybe like he's creating some issues along the way as well. But anyway, it's other people's issues. So you just got to just be open-hearted, don't you? And yeah, so if you have that in any subchart, happy days, that's brilliant. In one of the chart that having eighth house Mercury is fantastic, whether it is naturally in there or in a dasha, is when you get it in your D11 Aya. I don't mean the normal one, I mean the Aya, when Sage Aya is Iyer. If you get it in that one and Mercury is in the eighth house, you could suddenly gain. Now that gain, it could be monetary, it normally is. However, it could also be gain of knowledge, it could be gain of great friends, because obviously rules friends, gain of information that's important, gain of like lots of travel, a great job, all of that things. So all of those groups that can help you is amazing. So it also only has only aspects 7 houses opposite house, that's it. So so blesses it's a benefic anyway, but it's if by association it is sitting with the malefic, and malefics are Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, then there is a difficulty there. And it's also not very good with Jupiter. Jupiter and Mercury are not very good. So you will notice that if you got Mercury in Jupiter signs or Jupiter nakshatras, which is Purnavasu, Vishaka, and also Purva Bhadrapada, Mercury doesn't do very well at all in these. And what it does, it just expands the person's mind and thinking process and learning. And it's very difficult to consolidate all that learning. So yeah, and it just really focuscapes the person for a while. If you've got a Mercury which is debilitated, don't worry, because you also need to know whether or not what the condition is in your D9. That is really what is going on, not necessarily D1. And the Navamsha chart, if if you find that it's in a strong position, then that is, sometimes when they're debilitated, they can be exalted in the Navamsha. But just check that, because this is the reason why it's very important to know to the minute when you were born. And what else? So the other thing is as well, it's also Mercury is in certain houses gives you wonderful ability. So as I said, 8th house and 1st house. 6th house is good as well, because obviously it's going to help you organize things, because Mercury is really good at working at obstacles of life and how to tackle those and get over those issues with using your intellect, being practical, and just like getting the timings right, getting the cooperation that you need in order to do things well. And Mercury, because it's a planet that likes to get on with other people, work with other people, is it can give you many what do you call it? It's a merchant, so you can actually get on with anyone. And so Mercury, as I said, is speech. When it's aspected by Rahu, or if it's in the 12th house or has got 12th house Lord aspect or something like that, it can actually, if it's in a good condition, it can really help you learn languages very quickly and just work out really sort of things to do with space, with astronomy, with other realms, with mysterious things. So amazing. It's got so many facets to it, really. It's unbelievable. And sometimes though, when Mercury is overly strong, where it's like in quite rigid signs and things, it can be too left-brained. So it could just be like, it could be just far too intellectual to actually really see the spiritual side of life. This is what, this is some of the reason why we've struggled because the world is so Rahu, so Mercury. And but obviously things to do with the source, with spiritual growth, awakening, like the other realms, and just being connected, psychic things. If they can't see it, they can't believe it. So they're really a little bit stuck in a 3D world, really, where, oh, well, prove it to me. And even if you prove it to them, if it's not in an intellectual manner, they really struggle with that. They just like, I don't know, it doesn't sit with them very well. So there is this issue there as well. So it's worth knowing that too. And what else do I want to say? So I already told you the planets that is, it works well with. One of the things is also that Mercury is obviously, when you are like Gemini Ascendant or Virgo Ascendant, what happens is Jupiter is in your 7th house. So this is why sometimes, this is what they call the Badak house for them, because what happens is for the dual signs, their 7th house or 7th lord can give them troubles. We all have that, so it's not just necessarily just them, but this is just for Gemini and Virgo Ascendant. So they have some obstacles to get through to learn about, like relationships, business relationship, partnerships and things like that. And so Yeah, so that's the you know, because they are attracted to somebody who is very like spiritual and thinking like, you know, the big picture, whereas they are stuck very much in the detail, like particularly Virgo, in the small detail, and they can't see how everything in the big you know, big picture is going to work out if the little detail is wrong. So they could be a little bit stuck with detail too, particularly Virgo ascendant. So but yeah, so this is why there are some challenges there, whereas Jupiter wants to see the big picture, and they attracted to people. I mean, this is how the balance in the world is really, but they're just thinking, oh, I'm reading all this classical, you know, information, and there she is, or he is, you know, on his social media, like uh, doing this and that. So, you know, and like the Geminis particularly like the gossipy columns and things like that. And yeah, so it's a little bit like two worlds apart, but that's how they balance each other out too. Anyway, I'm going to just kind of bring this to an end now. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. If I have, I will add it in another video, but let's start. I'm going to start with Mercury Sun together, because Mercury is a very fast moving planet, so as a result can be a bit fickle. It rules gay people as well, and it is also comedic. It's got fantastic timing. It's full of one-liners. It can mimic anything. It's all to do with copying, any printing, copying of anything. Is all of that. All jobs that are clerical are ruled um, by Mercury. Taxi drivers which travel short distances, short distance travel is ruled by them. They are also mercurial, because they do like small chat, you know, social butterflies, that kind of thing. So anyway, let's start the ascendants. Thank you very much. Okay, I just came across some other notes about Mercury, so I thought I'd just put them in as well. So obviously Mercury rules internet, rules gaming, all sorts of gambling and things like that as well. It can be to do with Rahu, Mercury, but Mercury is all the entertainment places where we go to have fun, whether it's like ski slopes, indoor skiing, indoor sort of skating, all of those things have got things to do with Mercury. Mercury is also the editor too. So when you actually go through your, I don't know, say, apologies, so you write an essay and you go through it, that's also like Mercury editing, taking things out, or even editor or newspaper is ruled. They're all ruled by Mercury. It's our talents, how we learning by repetition, because it's copying. So it learns through repeating, you know, learning. It's very factual, and this is the reason why it can kind of question certain belief systems. I can't see it, so it doesn't exist, that kind of thing. So this is why there's a problem between Mercury and Jupiter, because one is just like, doesn't need to see it. It can feel God. It can feel the, you know, it can walk on grass and feel Mother Nature. You know, that's just like they are connected. They can receive downloads and things more easily, those people who are with higher realm. But whereas if you're stuck too much in the can't see it, so it doesn't exist, so it's just a lot more limited in that sense. It's ideas and social ability. Sun, Mercury, very bright. I just got actually a few notes that are from many years ago, so I thought I'd just share them with you as well. It's like Mercury, Rahu can give you, because obviously Mercury is what you call skin, can give you acne. Mercury, Mars can give you inflammation, eczema, that kind of thing. Mercury, Saturn can give dark patches on your skin. Mercury, Sun can give you sunburn, but it's the person will be very bright as a button, you know, particularly if Mercury is not combust. And so let's see. Okay. So in the first house, this is like, obviously Mercury is chatting. If they go in the first house, they like to talk about themselves. Mercury in the second house like to talk about money, food, family. Third house like to talk about siblings and friends. Fourth house like to talk about land, property, mum, talking with mum. Fifth house like to love life and poems, poetry, and Sixth house likes to talk about work and nutrition. Seventh house likes to talk about love. Eighth house loves to talk about death, sex, siblings, taboo stuff. Ninth house talks about religion and belief system. 10th house likes to talk about work. 11th house likes to talk about friends and networks. 12th house likes to talk about bed pleasures. It's hilarious. Okay, so careers that, you know, what kind of things? It can be so many things. It can be scientists. It could be curious about, you know, skilled, talented, quick wit, jack of all trades. So obviously this is not careers. This is just all things about Mercury. It can be I'll put calculator. Calculators are ruled by Mercury. It's obviously a communicator, follower of the rules. If it's in bad dignity with Rahu, it can be a thief or you know, tell fibs. It doesn't necessarily have to be really, really bad and bend the rules. It can also be an eternal student. It's a great researcher, helpful, mediator, versatile, realist, friends, connections, sense of humor, loves knowledge, juggles things, especially with Swati Nakshatra. It's a realist and no harsh opinions if not involved with Mars. So Mars makes it that way. Obviously, and I've written like things about speech therapy, can be one of the jobs that they do. Mercury helps us manage our life. They make good astrologers, astronomers with Rahu. Even a Kendra of Jupiter, great for knowledge and colleges. He rules post office stamps, stamp collecting. Anything you collect is ruled by Mercury. And rules lungs, nose, hips, autism, ADHD, anything green, helpful. Already said that. Non-threatening, rules animal kingdom. And what else got here? It's your dexterity. Mercury in the second house of D4 will be good, obviously, because for property and things. Likes writing, marketing and networking, information technology, particularly with Mars or Rahu, sculpting, hand skills, philosophy as is practical. Jupiter will be more spiritual philosophy. Youth, childhood behavior. If you know it rules you, you look younger. Plastic surgery as somebody wants youth. Plastic surgeon is Mars. It's pretty amazing. Behavior of bird, as they move a lot like birds. So amazing. Mercury rules obviously matures at 32, so it takes the houses. You get fruits more as it gets older. It rules herbs, pizza. It's a bridge between inside and out. It's Karaka of acting, dancing, and writing. Allergies is analyzes things, intellect, education, learning, and additional learnings that we take later. It's a client, trade, business, aunts and uncles, and grandfather, maternal side, younger siblings, and acid. Okay, let's see what else we have. This is so much fun because I've seen these things for years. So Mercury transiting your natal Mercury element every 6 years is a pivotal time. Oh, so yeah, so if you know, so that's amazing because it happens every 6 years. It goes into where it was when you were born. So yeah. And each elemental return, you refine another subtle part of your life, self-development. That's definitely Mercury. Mercury ahead of the Sun is the more superior conjunction. So rather than the other way around, Sun ahead, yeah, as long as it's not combust. So what else do we have? It's obviously, I said, it's trickster, i.e. Mercury retrograde in Aries. Something new, because obviously it's a pioneering sign, Aries. Mercury retrograde for transformation. Okay, Mercury retrograde can be expressive by means of writing, alchemy, magic, connections. Gambling as is 5th house, so 3rd house is habits. So Mercury, messenger of God, whatever house it's in, messenger of that house. Mercury in Aquarius, evolution and consciousness, alignment with others, intellectual evolution. Mercury equals spread of the message, throat chakra. Mercury in Pisces is more intuitive, spiritual, and less to do with kind of practicality. So it's like spiritual intellect. So combust Mercury means we need to learn to ask for what we want. If Mercury's 7th lord in the D9, intelligent partner, fickle-minded, unpredictable, somehow younger. Mercury does not do well in Jupiter signs. Obviously, we know that. Mercury and K2, great placement for acting illusion. Mercury rules environment, schools, young people's school. I said that already. Friends, thinking. 3rd house is thinking. Mercury is in 3rd house, chatterbox. In Libra, this is a great platform for them because of other people, you see. Mercury and Saturn, indication towards skin issues, disease, or Mercury in Capricorn, melasma, pigmentation. It's in friendly sign as well, so it's always give and take these things. Right, so that's it. A few other things. Mercury retrograde, actually, these people always go back on what they say. They constantly going back and reviewing, revising, reassessing what they've said. But, you know, Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year. It's not such a bad thing, because if Mercury is too strong, we just can be like chatterboxes, like, look at my video, how long it has been. So this is like tribute to Mercury. Anyway, guys, have a lovely time, a great day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Hello, this video is for the conjunction of Mercury and Jupiter in your natal chart. And so obviously I've so far spoken about the indications of Mercury. Let's talk about Jupiter. So Jupiter is, again, another benefic planet, and it's planet of wisdom, knowledge, opportunity, optimism, glass half full, seeing the bigger picture, and spirituality and religion. These are the themes of Jupiter primarily. It's high knowledge, and it's actually a significator of children. And in a woman's chart is the also the indicator of husband, and where you find joy in your life. Obviously, you know, Jupiter has got trinal aspects, so he aspects 7 houses from itself, 5th and 9th as well. And Jupiter is friendly with the Moon, Sun, and Mars, and it also sits pretty well with K2. And it's the only planet that can keep Rahu in place, Rahu being the north node of the moon. However, the other camp, which is Saturn, Mercury, and Venus, they are unfriendly towards Jupiter. Maybe Saturn is neutral, but definitely Venus and Mercury do not work very well with Jupiter. And so, yeah, there is a... And obviously in the natural zodiac, it rules the 9th house of travel, higher education, religion, sort of belief system. It kind of rules also father. 9th house is father, so it's an indicator of father as well. And, you know, you can just see a little bit about the father and the teachers that you attract in life too. And so that's more the religious side of it. and also ninth house is when you go pilgrimage as well, and any form of publishing or writing that you do. And then it also rules 12th house, which is completely different in the sense that it's more spiritual. It believes in source and believes in like getting close to their source by just like letting go of all the material things in life. And 12th house is also like it's isolation, travel, far away distance, more sort of exotic places. So if you're in Europe, if you go to Mauritius, for example, that will be exotic. If you go to Fiji, Kuala Lumpur, South Africa, that kind of thing. It's also expenditure, addictions, bed pleasures, 12th house, and imprisonment, hospices, hospitals, and as I said, prisons and corrections, hospitals, laboratories, anything that's behind the scenes is also ruled by the 12th house. So very completely different type of thing. So in one of them, you see the world as like in the religious way, and in the other, it's very much to do with your spiritual growth. And it's all those forms of mindfulness, meditation, and practices to just cleanse the body, cleanse the mind. Because on the one hand is detoxification, on the other hand it also rules addiction. So this is basically what Jupiter is. But more than anything else, when I look in the chart of anyone, I look for Jupiter to just see what is your purpose of life. How are you going to evolve in life, and how will you see the opportunities in your life and your growth, that kind of thing. How do you actually connect with your path in a sense? So those are the things that I sort of see, because that's the purpose of life. And the ninth house, which is very, very important, and the D9 is like a little bit to do with that, and also the seventh house as well. So I see the D9 as seventh and ninth house, really, because you see the marriage partner and how you form relationships, but also and how you grow, which is your ninth house, how you follow your path and how you learn and put those opportunities into practice. So this is planet of knowledge and wisdom. And then you have planet of information and data, and how you kind of communicate that information to the others. They're both teachers. They both are about learning information. But whereas like Mercury is more about like quick kind of things, such as social media learning and things this is much more in terms of the classics, history, reading the text and really analyzing the text in a higher format, if you like. So although they're the same, they're very different. So okay, so this is what I see when happens when these two planets get together. I just want to tell you a little bit more about Jupiter as well. So Jupiter also rules the liver, and wherever it sits, it kind of expands and gives you more opportunity in that area. So for example, if it is like, say, in your fourth house, because obviously it's also exalted in the fourth house, even if it's not Cancer, it still kind of feels pretty strong there. But it's all about family. It's about like nurturing everybody within your family, particularly the children. But because it's the significator of children, fifth house is children, you never want the significator of a house to be in that house. So it doesn't work so well when Jupiter is in the fifth house of children. So it can give you like delays in having kids. The same as if you've got like Venus in the seventh house, because it's a karaka or significator of the seventh house. You could you have to learn about relationships, if you like. Generally speaking, though, because it's kind of feels pretty, it gives you that opportunity to do things. even if it's a bad planet for you, for your chart. For example, it's not a very good planet for Taurus Ascendant or Libra Ascendant. But it's still, I find, because it's a natural benefic planet in transit, it can be quite generous and creates opportunities for you. I always think that it blesses the houses that, not necessarily where it sits, but definitely the houses that it actually spreads the love in. And so it's basically, you know, it also likes sugary foods. So people, particularly, you know, if Jupiter is agitated in any way, like it's sitting with Mercury, it could agitate Jupiter, because Mercury is like info. It can be quite surface planet. That could be like a little bit gossipy, a little bit into things that are just like, you know, see who, you know, going on social media and just like seeing how everybody's doing and everything, because that's Mercury. Mercury is just like interested in trivia and drama and all of that, whereas Jupiter is completely different. Jupiter is like live and let live and doesn't need to know about gossip, and is just operates on a higher level. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. So it could be like an insatiable desire to learn. So you're learning, constantly being the student and never really what you like, making those, you know, applying your knowledge, if you like. That could be an issue. So and obviously ninth house is also judges, lawyers, and things like that. So yeah, they will need to be in what you like, in a situation where there's boundaries. Otherwise, there's so much expansion of knowledge and learning and you know, studying, that it could just be overwhelming, really. And so Jupiter rules some of the things that Jupiter rules. I'm just going to just go over them. So Jupiter rules tourism, guidance, guru, counselors, ethics, moral system, faith, happiness, growth and expansion. It rules the fruits of your what you put in, really. It's storage house or database of your chart. It's your fortune, or how fortunate do you feel. Ability to listen to others. It's and it definitely doesn't do well in Mercury signs or Venus's signs, or in connection with them, opposite them, or in their nakshatra either. So the careers for them will be like priest and preacher, humanity, and also being a teacher, advisor, and debater. Jupiter is quite an idealist, though, so that's another thing. It's not very grounded. It's law abiding, policymaker, charitable, philanthropist, although I don't know if I like that word anymore. The philanthropist I've heard of last 2 years, they've turned out to be not so. Anyway, they're traditional, they psychology, psychotherapy, all of those things, and law, basically, they're all ruled by Jupiter. It's they always want to kind of go for the best case scenario in that sense, but it's so important for the moon to be you know, whenever you have like Jupiter and moon together, they're just such an optimism. They can see that if Jupiter is aspecting the moon with the moon, or also moon sitting in Jupiter's sign, it's very, very good for the mind, where it's just like it's gives that optimism, you know, whereas does exactly the opposite if moon is in Saturn signs. So yeah, giving money away, that kind of thing, is very much to do with humanity also, an ability to judge people and things well. So when Jupiter gets starved by Mercury, in a sense, because there is no structure. So they do really well, as I said earlier, to have a little bit of structure there to just ground them. So they probably do much better in fixed signs, in a sense. And probably something like, for example, maybe Aquarius, as long as it doesn't involve the as long as they're not in Purva Bhadrapada, because that's, again, it's going to be Mercury in Jupiter's nakshatra. So yeah, so it can give you like really, really lots of allergies. It can make you, so if you do get like liver issues with this, so it can give you, you know, it expands everything. So put it that way. So diseases and everything that are hard to diagnose as well will be this. Obviously, both of them are also planets of travel. So there's been loads of traveling, loads of studying, lots of learning, information galore, really, in a sense. So yeah, this person can be like, it can be quite difficult in a sense, because there's just so much information all the time. It can just be quite overwhelming. And there is something else as well, because Jupiter and Mercury don't work very well. They can be a little bit offbeat with beat up. When I say this, I don't just mean music, because they could also be like that too. So, you know, when there's, can see the suns. So, you know, when people are clapping to the music, well, something can happen with this where they can slightly be offbeat too. And doesn't necessarily mean if they dance, it's going to be like this, but there's going to be something slightly offbeat with them too. And yeah, so it can affect the asthma and skin issues even more, you know. So it can give you, these people can suffer from like bloating of the skin, where they get like, if they have a lot of sugar and things, because that will probably do that, because Jupiter is going to be agitating. And so it's just like, could be that they could get edema and things like that. So they get like water retention. There's, you know, they can get puffy with eating sugar, and because it brings on really sort of allergies in a big way. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, but I'll probably say it can be quite difficult in terms of you know, how they manage themselves, because there's just so much expansion. It's going to be a little bit difficult. So whenever ear and stomach issues can happen as well if Jupiter is debilitated. And, you know, like, so basically it's really good to ground yourself, walk barefoot in a park whenever you can, just literally just be much more mindful of what you do, so you can actually put boundaries in place. So if you're really into studying, or you're very much into like being on social media, and you're wasting a lot of time, and you find that your life is passing you by, just ground yourself by giving yourself time, that that's the only time I'm going to do that. Start doing this like fasting of the information. So I'm not going to do it within this time. So that would be a very good way to deal with that. Okay, let's do the ascendants. Jupiter Mercury for the ascendants now. Let's share the screen with you. Okay, so this is, it's obviously two benefics, but you know, their agendas are so different. They're like night and day. So there are going to be obviously some issues in that sense. Okay, so for Aries Ascendant, this brings together 3rd and 6th Lord Mercury together with Jupiter, which is 9th and 12th. So as a result of it, because 6th house Lord is actually involved, this is going to break any good combination of houses called yogas. And in that sense, it will actually mean that it won't be like that. So it will not give any fruits, but it does grow because Mercury rules 3rd and 6th house, and their upachaya houses, they get better with time. So these people could possibly be in field of teaching and communications, that kind of thing, because 6th house is work. So their service to others definitely could be like a governmental structure, because it's obviously health, education system, governmental things, they're all 6th house. So yeah, nurse, healer, that form of thing. Even law could be, because 9th Lord is Jupiter, so somebody was in that. So by sheer association, it kind of breaks the situation. Excuse me. So next ascendant for Taurus Ascendant. So this is 2nd and 5th Lord, and 8th and 11th. So clearly this is going to bring 2nd and 11th house ruler. So even though it's not a good combination, and obviously Jupiter is not a good planet for Taurus Ascendant, but 8th house and 11th house, neither of them break any yogas. But what happens here, it brings second and 11th lord together. This is really quite good for money. So in that sense, it will be really good. And it could also be quite sudden. It could be like an investment that they do or something, or just having children, education or something like that can just suddenly change their luck. And that could, because also it brings together like 11th lord with 5th lord, second, well, just on its own, Mercury can make money for them. So if they were, for example, together in you know, like in the second house, or in the third house, Jupiter will be exalted, which will be, yeah, so it could be good in that ways. And they could be very, very generous towards their family. There could be a real love for the children. It's better if it doesn't fall into their 5th house, Virgo, or into the 11th house, which is Pisces, because what happens is in the 5th house, Jupiter is the 5th house Karaka, and that can spoil things. And also in the 11th house, Mercury could be debilitated. And obviously, we don't want it to go into the 6th house or be associated with Venus, which is the 6th lord. But yeah, I mean, in some houses, it could be pretty good. It could even be pretty good in, say, for example, in the 1st house, because both of them then have directional strength. So although Jupiter is not very strong in Taurus, but what will happen is that that person can actually create wealth for themselves. I remember, if Jupiter is in the 1st house, it can actually expand your waist. So you've got to be really careful about eating. And obviously, Mercury will be 2nd house ruler of food as well. Constantly want to feed. So yes, interesting stuff. And obviously, we don't want it to be in the 9th house, because then Jupiter will be debilitated. Okay, next one. For Gemini Ascendant, this brings 1st and 4th and 7th and 10th lord. So this is going to be pretty good, especially if it falls into what would be a trinal house. So in the 1st house will be really good, because obviously both of them also have got directional strength. Mercury will be very, very strong, own sign. And Jupiter also will be aspecting 7th house of own sign, protecting it. And yeah, so if that was to go into like here, it's gone into like 4th house. So it just brings big family together, which is amazing. And yeah, so it's pretty good, you know, and it can be really good in many, many places, really. So I think obviously, you know, we don't want Jupiter to be in the 5th house, because it's the Karaka of the 5th house, but it can be really good in the 2nd house, because then it will bring you know, like it gives them a really large family as such. So that could be really sweet. Okay, so next one. Oh, here we go. Started to not play along now. Okay, there we are. So for Cancer Ascendant, this is going to be the 6th and the 9th lord, Jupiter and Mercury 3rd and 12th lord. So you know already there's going to be a problem, because 6th house lord Jupiter is involved. So it's going to break the yogas. But they will get some fruits later on. They just have to have that discipline of the 6th house with service, self-management, good daily routine, just, you know, being aware of their health and everything. Yes, but it can give some health issues for sure, because it's bringing Jupiter and Moon, you know, so you have to just watch that. And, you know, we've talked about health issues in the previous video. And then next ascendant, Leo Ascendant. For you is the 5th and 8th lord, together with 2nd and 11th. So this is going to be very much to do with money, sudden gains of money, sudden change in because 8th house in fortune and things. And as long as they're in a good situation, that could be pretty good. For example, if they are in the 1st house, even, that will be good, because both of them will be in a friendly sign. So, and then from there, Jupiter will be actually aspecting 5th house, own sign, protecting it. Both have got really, and it's got that rigidness about it. It's quite fixed, so they'll be much more grounded in that sense. Fiery nature as well. Yeah, so that could be, but there could be a lot of changes in their situation. You know, they could suddenly have children, they could suddenly have a fortune, they can suddenly lose the fortune, that kind of thing. But yeah, Mercury is generally speaking, rules the 2nd and the 11th house, so it can make money for them anyway. But when it comes into connection with the fifth lord, which is a trinal, it just really magnifies that even more. And if it goes in the first house, and even if it goes into the say ninth house, which is like Aries, that would be another trinal house. It will mean that Jupiter is stronger than Mercury. But yes, I mean, it can be good, but obviously houses that, you know, obviously we don't want it connected to Saturn or the sixth house, because that will ruin the good yogas. But for example, if say for them, if you know, if this in the second or 11th house will be really good too, because from there, obviously Mercury will be in own sign, and Jupiter will be aspecting the fifth house, protecting that too. Next one, which is Virgo. Virgo, Jupiter rules fourth and seventh house, and it's now in connection with the first and the 10th house ruler. So in the first house, they both have got directional strength, which is wonderful. Mercury's own sign, and it'd be really give them a lot of respect and achievements in their career, in their happiness of the family. I mean, if it was in the fourth house, would be fantastic as well, which is like two benefics in the fourth house. Be a very studious family, very, very wise, well-traveled, well-educated. And from where it is in this one will be good as well, because it'll be aspect in the seventh house, so they'll be highly respected in the world. Yeah, pretty good. So that's nice too. Obviously, we don't want Jupiter to be in the fifth house here either, because it's the Karaka, and also fifth house, it'll be debilitated. And also Mercury is not good in the seventh house, because he'll be debilitated there too. So next one. So this is Libra. For Libra ascendants, Jupiter rules the sixth house, so it's going to kind of spoil any good yogas, but it will get better with time. People learn how to manage themselves, manage their life, and just be of service and work hard to achieve what they want. So this is like third and sixth house ruler, which means that their own efforts will go into their job. They could be self-employed. And this ninth and 12th lord Mercury. So Mercury is a good planet for Libra ascendants. Again, this could be a job with law, self-employment, being in teaching, travel industry as well, because obviously it's got third and 12th house and the ninth house all together. So this could be somebody also who's publishes, who's keen writer, keen, speaker, inspiring in their speaking, deal with, difficult issues and have that wisdom. We don't want to, so it's connected to the sixth house and third house. The houses that Jupiter rules will take time to get, you get full fruits from them, because they are upachaya, so get better with time. Now, Scorpio ascendant, this is second and fifth house ruler Jupiter, and Mercury is for them 8th and 11th house. So no planet actually breaks the yoga. This could be money producing situation. If it's in the second house, that will be good, because Jupiter rules that. And from there will aspect, like what would be their 8th house, so you can actually expand, like inheritance, tax rebates and things like that. But it can also, 8th house is difficult, because it can be good and it can be suddenly bad too. Sudden gains, sudden losses. But definitely you can see that certain houses we don't want them in the fifth house, because Mercury will be debilitated, and also Jupiter is Karaka of the fifth house in terms of children will be difficult. And none of this means that you can't have it. It's actually better if they are like this aspect in the fifth house. Jupiter's aspects are better than placements, I find, normally. So yeah, and it gets better with time as well, because 11th house is upachaya. But yeah, I mean, Jupiter on its own can create a lot of wealth, and it brings together second and 11th lord, and also fifth house is there as well. For Sagittarius ascendant, Mercury and Jupiter, so what happens is the first and fourth lord and seventh and 10th lord, quite similar to Virgo and Gemini, where it brings kind of angle houses together. If they go in a trinal house, will be better. So, for example, if they go into the ninth house, which is Leo, or first house, will be good, because we don't want it in the fifth house, obviously, because it's not good for Jupiter being in Karaka or significator of the fifth house. In the fifth house, not good for children. It can delay that. But in the ninth house in Leo, both of them are friendly to the sun, so that could be nice. It'd be nice in the first house. They both have got directional strength, and Jupiter rules that, and then Mercury will be aspect in the seventh house. So they'd be highly, you know, Sagittarius as well. If they're in the first house, they'd be really sort of like pushing their agenda of like belief system. There could be religious speakers, things like that. So it could be like a job that they do as a priest, a vicar, cardinal, archbishop. Or it could also be somebody who's, you know, sells homes, property, land, real estate, and also it can be somebody who is also in healing, because Virgo is house of healing. But if they're in the 10th house, wow, they're both going to be aspect in the fourth house. That's going to be really nice. They could have multiple homes too. But yeah, so that's pretty good. And then let's go for the next ascendant, Capricorn Ascendant. So for you guys, this is going to be like 3rd and 12th house ruler Jupiter, and also 6th and 9th house ruler Mercury. So you straight away with the 6th house issues that Mercury brings, you know, that is going to spoil some of the good fruits of the yogas. Yeah, but in all fairness, though, it's Jupiter is not a good planet for them, and Mercury rules the difficult sign. So it could just be that this could be somebody who is literally very much to do with education, working for a governmental body, if it goes into their 10th house. But it takes some efforts to get there, and because of the nature of the 3rd house and the 6th house combinations coming together, gets better with time, for sure. But yeah, they could just have discord with siblings, or discord with guru's dad. They could lose friends because they don't communicate very well, or over communicate. That could be the thing. But they could also be highly skilled, always learning. They know lots of information at the ready too. They could be very much like, because it's 12 hours, they could be like spying on people, seeing what's going on. And okay, so did I say? Yeah. Okay, yeah, Capricorn now. Sorry, Aquarius. Yeah, that was right. So with Capricorn Ascendant, so this is going to be 5th and 8th house ruler Mercury. So it's rules a lovely trinal house, and 2nd and 11th house ruler, which is Jupiter. So this is going to create money as long as the 6th house is not involved, or the 6th lord. So this, you can see that obviously if they're in the 1st house, Mercury will be, both of them will have directional strength because they both work well in the 1st house. Mercury will be stronger because also Mercury is friendly with Saturn, which rules the sign Aquarius. But yes, they could be, and these people, because 11th house Aquarius is very much tech based as well, so they could be highly into new technology, that sort of stuff. And so 2nd house and 11th house with 5th and 8th house. So sudden changes in money. Suddenly, you know, they have children, their luck changes for the better or for the worse. They could gain through friends. They could gain, you know, once they're in relationship, their fortune can change. Yeah, so multiple things going on. Will be really good in the 9th house and the 1st house, obviously, because are the trinal houses. But it'd be good anywhere pretty much, as long as they're not debilitated, really. And if they go even in the 8th house, Jupiter will be aspect in the 2nd house, own sign, and Mercury loves being in the 8th house. So, and its own sign, very good. Okay, so Pisces Ascendant. For Pisces Ascendant, this brings together trinal lords, angular lords, 1st and 10th house ruler Jupiter, 4th and 7th house ruler Mercury. So this is, you know, that this is going to be, they can meet their partner at work, they can create their own job, they can create a job with their mum, they could sell land, car, property, do them up. They could also be like their partner could you know, kickstart their career and their success. So if it's in the first house, Mercury will be debilitated, but Jupiter will be own sign, and actually both of them will have directional strength in the first house. If it's in the 10th house, where you know they're going to be teaching or something, you know, teachers, travel, all of that kind of thing, to be professors, psychologists, psychotherapists, judge, if it's particularly in connection with the 9th house. So yeah, very good. And that's it. Obviously, you don't want even though Jupiter will be exalted in the 5th house, you still wouldn't want it in the 5th house, because the karaka, or the significator of children, if he's in the 5th house, it's going to kind of create some issues, delay things about having children. But other than that, you know, as long as they're both strong, it should be good. Thank you so much, and I shall see you soon. Thank you.